I finished and I figured I was going to come here and we were going to make a speech. I had a speech all set for you. I was ready. They said, sir, you're actually doing a town hall. I said, oh.
Donald Trump was not merely visibly confused, he was admittedly confused when he stumbled into a Wisconsin event that he thought was going to be a prepared speech and rally, and was in fact a pre-scheduled town hall hosted by Tulsi Gabbard, and it went downhill from there. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as we've discussed in previous videos, it's simply a fact that Donald Trump is the oldest presidential candidate in American history, and poll after poll after poll has shown that a majority of Americans have doubts about Donald Trump's physical and mental fitness to be president, particularly when compared to his Democratic rival, Vice President Kamala Harris. The vulnerability that was once hanging around the neck of President Biden is now squarely around the neck of Donald Trump. And I don't know about you, but I think you and I and Democrats, including the vice president, should hammer him harder on this issue. Trump cultists, of course, say, no, listen, sure, he's 78 years old, but he's in peak mental health, no matter what the polls and gaffes say. To which I say, look no further than this town hall. Donald Trump, who is not only visibly confused, he openly admitted he had no idea what the hell he was doing there.
I finished and I figured I was going to come here and we were going to make a speech. I had a speech all set for you. I was ready. They said, sir, you're actually doing a town hall. I said, oh, nobody told me that. I said, who's doing it? They said, Tulsi. I said, well, that's at least good news. I've been a fan of hers for a long time, I have to tell you. So I didn't even know. I'm in the plane. And I'm looking over some material, and we're going to give you a hell of a speech tonight. We were set to give you one hell of a speech. They said, no, sir, it's a town hall. I said, why doesn't somebody tell me this stuff? And I don't even have any idea who we're doing it for. I don't know. Is it for a network or what? I see a lot of television.
So he even repeats the story. I thought it was going to be a speech, but they told me it was a town hall. And I'm like, nobody told me that. So then I was on the plane and I thought I was going to deliver a speech, and then they told me it was going to be a town hall. And I'm like, why did nobody tell me that? This is a man in serious cognitive decline, at least based on the same evidence that we would look towards, or at least MAGA Republicans look towards, for President Biden. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. As you know, we should hold all politicians, Republican and Democrat, to a single standard, because that's the only way by which you can correctly evaluate them. So yes, even though this was well advertised in advance publicly and privately as a town hall hosted by Tulsi Gabbard, Donald Trump was visibly and admittedly confused. You might be thinking, well, I'm sure, given the MAGA Republicans say he's a very stable genius at the peak, at the height of his mental powers, much better, not only than Joe Biden, but Kamala Harris, really any Democrat. I'm sure he boot and rallied very quickly. Not likely.
You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem. You take a look at...
Yeah, so that's Donald Trump engaging in some sort of strange non sequitur about bacon consumption and wind. As you know, he talks about winds and windmills, how they're killing birds and whales and basically all, fauna in existence. This is not the sign of an agile mind. You might be thinking, okay, well, he had a couple of glitches, but maybe the next clip, maybe he kind of rallied, he gathered his thoughts, put himself together, and delivered a substantive speech on policy. Nope.
Well, we're going to start that up. We're going to become the energy capital of the world. We're going to pay down our debt, and we're going to reduce your taxes still further. And your groceries are going to come tumbling down, and your interest rates are going to be tumbling down. And then you're going to go out, you're going to buy a beautiful house. Okay? You're going to buy a beautiful house. That's called the American dream. The American dream.
So the problem was, this was in response to a college student asking him how he's going to bring prices down. And instead, what he's like is, well, we're going to bring prices down. Mr. President, how are we going to bring prices down? I tell you what we're going to do is we're going to bring prices down. We're going to bring energy up. Prices are going to come down. You're going to be able to go and buy a big, beautiful house. That's the American dream. Thank you, everybody. And what's funny about this is it just is further proof that Donald Trump doesn't know what the hell he's talking about with respect to policy. And maybe that wouldn't be a big deal. It would be a big deal, but maybe it wouldn't be as much of a big deal if Donald Trump and his supporters weren't constantly attacking Vice President Kamala Harris and Democrats for being, quote unquote, light on details. I mean, this is something that we've been hearing from right-wing media and, quite frankly, many centrists out there. Why isn't the vice president going into vivid point by point by point by point detail about what she's going to do to bring down costs in this country? It's a fair question if you expect your politicians in their stump speeches or in their interviews to have that level of minutiae and detail. If that's your very high expectation, fair enough. Some may say it's too high, but whatever. What you should have is a consistent standard. So if you expect Vice President Kamala Harris to get into the minutia of domestic fiscal policy, you should have the same damn expectation of Donald Trump. And if you don't, then you're probably an unprincipled loser and a hypocrite who should be made fun of. Again, we should hold people to one standard, folks. I expect politicians to be relatively conversant on details of domestic and foreign policy, but I don't expect them to be a policy wonk on all areas. There's a reason that presidents of both parties have cabinets and advisors. They're not AI. I do not expect a president to be the world's foremost foreign policy expert, domestic policy expert, energy policy expert. I don't expect that. Nobody should. What you were electing them for is their judgment and their charisma and their ability to delegate and administrate all of those things together. Usually the people whom they employ are much greater experts in various policy areas. So again, I just want to be clear. I don't expect Trump or Harris or anybody to get into a 4-hour dissertation on the nuances of energy policy and how that will somehow bring grocery prices down if that's how you're tying the two together. But when somebody says, hey, how are you going to bring prices down? And you effectively say, I'm just going to bring prices down. It's really not an answer. And if we're going to expect detailed answers, we should expect them from everybody. And unfortunately, too many people do not do that with Donald Trump. Going to play a couple more clips here.
You know, on the question of abortion, he is the one, abortion in the 9th month. And if the baby in Minnesota, and I'd love to win Minnesota because those people aren't digging this guy. They're not digging this guy. But think of this. 6 states, Minnesota's one of them. If the baby is born, you're allowed to execute the baby after, think of that, after birth.
So again, a visibly and admittedly confused Donald Trump. And by the way, that's Tulsi Gabbard standing beside him. Tulsi Gabbard pitches herself as an independent, fiercely independent, nonpartisan person who was a critic of Donald Trump, but she's backing him in the election because, damn it, sometimes we have to make tough choices. We have to choose the lesser of two evils, and she's decided Trump is that. Now, that's a fair paradigm, right? Because I also expect nonpartisans and independents and centrists and people who don't align with the Democrats perfectly to make that same judgment. I would disagree with her judgment. I would say that she made it wrong. But what's fascinating about that was the so-called principled nonpartisan actor who used to be a Democratic politician is letting Donald Trump say this blatant lie that in Minnesota and 5 other states, and that Governor Walz, that all of these institutions, people, and states support the right to execute children post-birth. That is, I can't even call that a reductive view of late-term abortions because it'd be far beyond the pale there. It's so far afield from even elective third-term abortions, which the vast majority of the Democratic Party do not support and would not be supportive of if they reinstituted Roe v. Wade standards. It would allow effectively for the total restriction of third-term abortions unless a medical emergency dictated it. I digress. Donald Trump is saying with a microphone in front of a former Democratic politician that Democratic states and Democratic governors want to execute children. No fact check from Tulsi Gabbard there. Pretty pathetic stuff from someone who claims to be so principled. Last clip I want to show you is Donald Trump is still really, really upset. Clearly, I thought maybe this had gone away because they'd gotten used to it. But Donald Trump has really upset that Governor Walz and Vice President Harris and Democrats and really just most people in general will refer to Trump and J.D. Vance and MAGA Republicans as weird. Apparently, he's not over it.
Minnesota, I mean, they picked this guy. He is weird. Right? He's weird. I'm not weird. He's weird.
That's, again, just very petulant. I'm not sure why he's deciding that particular line of attack. That's like really like second grade stuff. I'm not stupid. You're stupid.
No, he's a weird guy. He's a weird dude. You know, see, they come up with sound bites. They always have sound bites. And one of the things is that JD and I are weird. That guy is so straight. JD is he's doing a great job, smart.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by straight. Are you implying that non-straight people are weird, Donald? Is that some homophobia that you're dropping on the audience? Is that what you're getting at? Of course, J.D. Vance, by any objective metric, is not doing particularly well. He is infinitely less liked than Governor Walz, his counterpart on the Democratic side. He's the least liked vice presidential running mate in recorded history. So by any objective measure, that's a disaster. Now, is he smart? Sure, I think J.D. Vance is smart. I think it also, the fact that he is smart makes what he's doing even more pathetic and contemptible, but that's just me. So yeah, that was a Wisconsin town hall event that Donald Trump just tanked, per usual. Clearly was winging, I mean, he always wings it, but he was truly living second by second, syllable by syllable, probably not even sure what the next syllable was going to be that left his mouth because he was so unprepared. Because even though, again, this was publicly and privately pitched as a town hall to be hosted by Tulsi Gabbard, he thought it was a speech and was clearly ill prepared for that, such that he even, commented out loud about his confusion. I just don't think this guy's cognitively fit to be president, and I think he continues to demonstrate it with each public appearance. In the meantime, you let me know what you think in the comments.